And then, the tour manager suggests maybe 10, and then someone says 5, and then, like, just in the interval, someone goes, could you maybe just do 3 or 4? Because they're becoming quite concerned now. And so I walk out and do, probably, I'd say 3.
Can you remember any of the gags you did?
It wasn't suited, I would say, for the well, the funny thing was in the sound check, Bill was like, so what are you gonna do? You know, like, you know, what tell them about the interview and all that stuff? And I was just looking and going, what? Tell them, or like talk to them, tell them things that have happened. No, I'm gonna do my jokes. And I actually asked at one point, I've got a joke or two about smoking. Do you mind? I mean, would it bother you if I did? And he said, as long as they're not mine. And so I did one joke about parking my bike. And it was the thing is, I walked out, and they've come back after the interval, and all they know is, right, well, Hicks is going to be on now. And there's no intro. So just, the tour manager comes out, and Bill comes out, and they sort of shove me out on stage, and and it feels like a long walk as well between the edge and the microphone. And I walk out, and there's this, way! The audience just goes nuts, because finally, the white guy with dark hair and a black shirt that they've all come to see is on stage. I mean, the people on the front, I think some of them have spotted it, but also some of them maybe not that familiar with what Bill Hicks looks like.
Yeah.
And it's when I open my mouth, it's just, I still
Hello!
Hello! I've got a fucked up accent, and it's not a fucked up American one. And it was, that game Guess Who? Where you flip the faces up and down.
Yeah.
It was like whatever there were, like 1,200 people, something like that. It was like watching a Guess Who of disappointment flick up, like
where the question is, do you have a happy face? No.
Yeah.
Row by disappointed row.
Exactly that.
All the way to the gods.
You know, like in football matches where they've all got a little part of a picture and they all hold it above their heads and it forms one. That sort of visible change. Yeah, literally row by row.
Mexican wave of deflation.
Facial wave. Yeah, exactly. And then it's people like going, who the fuck are you? What, Bill? I think someone yelled, "You're ruining our night." Or you're ruining my night.
Bits of the interview coming back to haunt you. I got a glass thrown at me once. I got a glass.
Yeah, plastic glasses only, thank God. And it was just obviously this isn't working at all. And I replied to some of the heckles. But there was stuff like I'd never had a heckle before. It's terrible. It was very bad indeed. And then I said that. Yeah, please welcome Mr. Bill Hicks. And walked off stage, and Bill just went, "Thanks a lot, Nick." Just shook my hand. I walked on the stage, and I ran round and took the seat and watched the show.
Did you guys get to meet up for your little date?
No.
What are you doing after the show, Bill?
I think the feeling amongst me and my friend who were there was it probably best to leave quickly afterwards. Although probably would have been fine with it, but...
Did you ever see him again?
No.
And Balloon, did you ever see them again?
I toured with them for a while.
They open for you now, don't they?
Yeah, we had a touring show called Relenting. And,
Salivation.
What was their hit? What was Balloon's hit?
I don't know. I didn't take any of it in, apart from that they weren't going well.
Well, I think that homework for next week for any listeners who are worth their salt is to find out more about Balloon and send it in to Doubling Up.
So there you go. That's. I mean, that tour. I saw that tour as well, right. But. I was at university in Liverpool, but I just bought a ticket, turned up and watched the show. And sadly, there was no kid struggling with his accent on before Hicks. It was just Hicks.
So I never saw him live. The first time I even became aware of him, because I was living in Ireland, where we didn't have electricity and that kind of thing. So you couldn't watch recorded things.
That kind of thing.
How old are you, Tucker?
95. No, well, we didn't.
Still,
we'd only got our first sort of what you would have called in those days alternative comedy club, which was the International, which is still there.
The Comedy Cellar.
Comedy Cellar, yeah. In '89 or so, and. Basically, there weren't a lot of international comics coming over to Ireland to play the gig for beer money. So it wasn't until the Kilkenny Comedy Festival started, the Cat Laughs in '95, that UK and American acts started coming over a little bit more regularly. But that was '95, so that was the year after he died. So what they did actually was, a lot of his mates were there, a lot of people who had worked with him, gigged with him, and they just put on a show in the Watergate Theatre in Kilkenny where they just showed loads and loads and loads of footage, and a lot of the guys that knew him talked about him, which was mainly really weird stories like, oh yeah, Bill was the only guy I knew who could, you know, mid-sentence turn around, vomit into a glass, turn back and finish the sentence. Lots of guys like that, and but it was absolutely amazing. That was the first time I'd become aware of him.
Were you at the thing at the garage? Did you go to
Yes,
that?
what Cynthia True read out bits of the book.
Cynthia True, when she wrote, and bear in mind, she'd never seen him live, she'd never met him, and she wrote a biography about.
Well, she's also indirectly the reason that I never published a book on him, because I had a book on Hicks commissioned by 2 different publishers.
Wow.
And the first publisher just went bankrupt, and then the second one, there were so I had the editors switched. So from the guy whose idea it was to do the book, who was really keen on it, suddenly got moved to a different imprint or something, and then I got this new editor who went, yeah, well, I didn't even know who Bill Hicks was actually until then, but my boyfriend knows, and just like that, and then they heard the Cynthia True book was coming out, and she hadn't even looked at any of the stuff I'd written, because mine wasn't a biography, but they were just, oh well, if we can't bring it out before this, then there's no point. So they pulled out of the contract.
Fuck. Yeah, she did like a reading from her book and showed some previously unseen footage which we'd seen.
Yeah.
And she got heckled. Like, do you remember?
Yeah, it was quite a weird atmosphere.
But I mean, this would be 2001.
Yeah.
But the 300 tickets sold out. There was queuing around the block. You know, people were paying a £5 to watch a woman show a little bit of Hicks footage. And it was insane, all these people just like...
Very strange.
More popular than he probably ever was himself. Somebody talking about him after he's died. But people were going nuts, heckling. It was mental.
I once had someone at a gig in Plymouth, I think, come up afterwards talking to me and one of the other comics. And it was another comic, newer comic, hadn't heard of Hicks. This guy was a massive Hicks fan, this audience member. And I've never seen this before or since. I've certainly never seen it about anyone else. This is how sort of religious some people got about him. This guy gave the comic money on the understanding he would go and buy a Hicks album with it. Like, how scary is that? It's really evangelistic Hicksians.
Wow.
It's funny, and even especially in that interview, in fact, it's a great interview. I think it really brings out the best of him in terms of comedy, and that he doesn't seem to have been a comedy snob at all. And a lot of his diehard fans are terrible comedy snobs.
Well, he laughs. He's the same. He's got the same laugh as Stuart Lee, hasn't he? You know, with that. Ha!
That's a comedic link.
Flattering impression.
You can't even do an impression of yourself when you were young.
Well, that's because even though it was in the podcast, I haven't listened to it in a lot of years.
It's too much. I know. I understand.
I find it so excruciating.
Just before we go, I forgot. So when you were commissioned to write the book, you spoke to his mum, didn't you?
Yeah. I also did. I spoke to her a couple of times, and I got an email out of nowhere saying that I understand that you had an interview with my son that I've not heard, and I'm very interested to have it. But also, can you not pass on this email to anyone? Because I have no difficulty saying she had the email now. But at that point, people like Kevin Booth, best friend, and the guy who was the producer of a lot of the albums, didn't know that Mary Hicks had an email address. She was trying to keep it really quiet because she didn't want fans bombarding with messages and stuff. And then so I sent her a copy of the tape, and I got this handwritten letter back from her, which my dad still gets really emotional about. Actually, he said, because he read it right at my family home, and he just thought it was really. It's really touching. It's just like, thank you so much for this. It's just so weird hearing his voice. And my first thing when I played it was to call Bill in from the next room, and then the realisation he's not there anymore. And it was like that. It was really touching.
Wow.
That's an amazing thing to have done.
Do you know what, folks? What we're going to do, because we wanted to keep this just as the Bill Hicks thing for anyone who doesn't listen to the podcast, we're going to do our normal podcast now that will go out next week. So I think that's a great note to finish this one on.
Absolutely.
So,
okay.
Well done, Nick.
Yay! So
well
new
done.
listeners, we'll see you next week. Won't we?
Yeah, bye.
Bye.